Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Too many people moving and shaking around here, and you can't really keep track of who's doing what. So yeah, like I said, I'm just gonna go through for everything in this room is audio and video recorded first off. You okay with that?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So I just want to go through, like I said, a couple formalities, cover a few little things off, things that I have to do on my end that I need to do, and things that I just want to tell you and make sure that we're all on the same page before we get going.
Okay.
Okay. So first off, today is Wednesday, October the 5th, 2016, and on my phone right now, I'll just use that as a time reference. It's 5:14.
Okay.
So 17:14. We'll just use that as a start time of our conversation here today. Again, my name is Nathan Hergott with the Woodstock Police Service. I currently work in our crime unit.
Okay.
And we met a short time ago in downtown Toronto, correct?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So we came to a facility where you've spent the last few weeks, from what I understand.
Yeah.
And we met with Dr. Khan and his team of associates, and I believe you were under his care for the last little while, correct?
Yeah, for the last 3 weeks.
Okay. And the process, how we got here basically is kind of offered you a ride back, and so we could have this conversation, and you gracefully accepted, and off we went down the 401, or the Gardner, the QEW, and the 403, and here we are, right? So just to make it clear for whoever might watch this in the future, we didn't force you to come with us. We didn't, shove you in the car and off we went kind of thing. You did it on your own free will, and you accepted it on your own decision making. Is that correct?
Yep. I had enough, and you even let me try to give money to the homeless people. So.
There you go. I remember all of that. So I know I read you a few things before, as we were kind of just cruising down Spadina there. And I know you've been read this many times, but it's just things that we need to just reiterate and make sure that you're clear and comfortable with having this conversation today.
Okay.
Okay. Like I said, based on our investigation, there could be some pretty serious criminal charges that result of our investigation. Okay. So having said that, if you wish to speak to a lawyer at any time, I don't want you to hesitate. We can make it happen whenever you like. So whether it's now, 5 minutes from now, an hour from now, or 3 days from now, whatever the case may be.
We're not going to be asking questions for 3 days, are we?
I hope not. No, I hope not. I'm just saying that any time that you want to speak to a lawyer, that you're kind of in our company, or whatever the case may be, you let us know, and we can make that accommodation for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, because in your position as a Canadian citizen, you're entitled to have free legal advice from a legal aid, duty counsel lawyer, a lawyer of your choice, whoever you like.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yes.
Okay. And like I said, because there could be some criminal charges that result of our investigation.
Right.
Okay. Also, and I know you've been read this many times before, that you may be charged with many criminal offenses, and you don't have to say anything in answer to the charges that you face. But if you wish to do so, we're going to do that today. But whatever you do say could be used in courts. And I know we had that conversation in the car on the way back to Woodstock, and I asked you to repeat it in your own words, and you kind of gave us a few of describing it in your own vocabulary. I think you said something like, it's not Vegas. What happens in the car on the way back doesn't necessarily stay in the car, right?
Yeah,
so same thing in this room. Anything that you say and everything that we talk about could be used as evidence at court.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
So kind of, to put it easily, the same rules apply. Okay? And if you've spoken to any other police officers, I know that you've dealt with the Toronto police officers. There was a couple officers in the car on our trip back here. If anyone's persuaded you or tried to push you into making a statement, whatever they said, I don't want that to influence you in any way. Okay?
No, what I'm about to say, I'm giving of my own free will.
Okay. All right. And I appreciate that. And we'll get moving forward. For another few things, and I know that we said this in the car, you are not under arrest right now.
Okay.
Okay, I want to make that very clear to you.
Okay.
Okay, you're not under arrest. The door is unlocked. Okay, I'm not impeding your way to the door. If you want to leave at any time, if you want to stop talking to me at any time, you just let me know, and we'll just carry on from there.
Okay.
Okay, but you're not being held here against your will. We're not forcing you to speak to us. We just have some follow-up, some follow-up questions from the investigation that kind of
Okay.
got going while you were in Toronto.
Yeah, being interviewed is hard because it takes so long.
It does.
So I'll do my best, like I said, if I have to get up and pace around a bit or whatever.
If you want to take a break at any time, you let us know. If you want to get up and pace around, I'll just kind of hang tight here and we'll just keep conversing as long as you're comfortable.
I'll go as long as I can.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. That's kind of all the formalities, but like I said, those are the things that I just wanted to make sure that we're clear to you. And if you have any questions for me before we get started, the floor is yours. If there's anything or any concerns that you have.
No, I want to get through this and find out what happened to my mom and dad, because I know they're upset because someone went to visit them today.
Okay.
They visited them today, and they said, they're here, we're concerned, what's going on?
Yeah. Oh, I can imagine. I honestly don't have those answers for you, but I can get them for you. My role in this investigation so far has been not as in-depth as some of the other officers, but my task today obviously was to travel to Toronto and meet with you with my fellow co-workers and come back here and have a conversation. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. But I can definitely get those answers for you, and I don't want to upset any more people that need to be, especially your mom and dad.
Yeah. Okay. And you should have bought blue chip tickets while you were there.
You know what? If I could afford them for the playoffs, I probably would have. Yeah, that was exciting last night. So just for the record, and I know you prefer to go by Beth, is what you told us. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Can you just state your full name for me?
Elizabeth Tracy May Wettlaufer.
Tracy May?
Yep.
Okay, and just spell your last name for the record.
Wetttlaufer.
Okay, perfect. And Beth, the reason why we're here today is because we've received some information back at the end of last week with regards to some information that was provided to the Toronto Police Service, which has led us into quite a bit of work and leads us here today to speak to you with regards to kind of how this all started and follow up. But basically, I've watched your statement that you provided to Toronto. Okay. And we've been provided this document here. Does that look familiar to you?
Yes, that's right.
All right. And from what I can see here, there's 4 pages of a handwritten document. Is that your handwriting?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And it just kind of goes through some people that you've encountered in your career from 2007 through to 2016 of August.
Yeah.
August of 2016. Okay. So that's kind of the focus of our investigation right now is the information that you've put on these 4 pieces of paper.
Yes.
Okay. But before we get into that, I just want to kind of get an idea of your career and where you've been in your career and kind of how you got into things and.
Registered nurse. I started from Huron Park Secondary School. I graduated grade 13, went for a year of journalism school.
Okay.
And then went to Bible College, London Baptist Bible College in London. Graduated with a degree in counseling, with a bachelor's degree in counseling. And then discovered that that's wasn't really gonna get me a lot as far as work-wise and career-wise, and so I went back to Huron Park High School for a year, and I took a year of Maths and Sciences, and went on to Conestoga College, and it's in Kitchener, but they have a Stratford campus, so I went there for the 3 years.
Okay.
And then when I graduated there, I worked in a place called Geraldton.
Okay.
Which is 16 hours north of Toronto.
I was going to say, that's quite a bit north, isn't it?
3 hours north of Thunder Bay.
Yeah, that's way up there.
Yeah. Worked there, couldn't stand the isolation, moved back. Worked for an organization called Christian Horizons here in town in one of their group homes till 2007. At which time my marriage fell apart in February 2007, and I met a woman online
Okay.
and she decided to move to be with me.
Okay.
So, I ended up quitting the job I was at and going to Crescent Care to make a little bit more money, because I was the only earner.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working at Crescent Care, I believe it was June 2007.
Okay. And how long did you work there for?
Until, 2014. Yeah, till, I think it was March 2014.
And were you always in the same role, or
As
did you do
a
different roles at Crescent Care? Or?
I was a registered nurse.
Yeah.
And registered nurse's role is always the same.
Yeah.
But, I worked in different areas of the home.
Okay.
There's 5 wings to Crescent Care, so I worked in different areas.
Right. Okay. All throughout the 7 or so years that you were there?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, did you have different supervisors from unit to unit, or
No,
did you
there
report
was,
to the same person, or?
there was one supervisor, Helen Crombie, she was the head nurse.
Okay.
And then there was, people under her, Shelley, Jeanette, I don't remember the rest of them. Then there was an administrative head, and I think for most of that time it was Brenda.
Right. Okay. And then from Crescent Care, I know you've had a few other.
Yeah, I went from Crescent Care, fired from Crescent Care.
Okay.
For a medication error.
Yeah.
Then from there I went to Meadow Park Nursing Home.
Okay.
And left there to get help with an addiction issue.
Okay.
Hoping that it would get help with that as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I came back, I started working again in January. I left Meadow Park in September of 2014, and I started working for a nursing agency called Lifeguard in 2015, and I worked with them for over a year, and then in July 2016, I started working for St. Elizabeth's Healthcare.
Okay.
As well, I was still working for Lifeguard.
Oh, okay. And how did that work? Did you just split your time between the two, or was it just kind of a part-time position at both organizations?
St. Elizabeth was my priority.
Okay.
So, and Lifeguard is very much, you pick up the shifts as they come. There's very few scheduled shifts, so
Gotcha. I
could say yes and no to them and focus on St. Elizabeth.
And were those roles where you would do in-home care with different clients?
With Lifeguard, it's an agency, so you go into nursing homes, you go into people's homes, you go into retirement homes. We did a lot of different things, a lot of one-on-ones with people,
Mm-hmm.
in their own homes,
Mm-hmm.
12-hour shifts, 8-hour shifts,
Okay.
sitting with them.
Okay.
A lot of stuff I did was sitting with palliative patients.
Right. Okay. That would be tough.
It was okay.
Yeah.
Because I knew they were going to die,
Yeah.
and it was just an opportunity to give the family a rest.
Yeah, absolutely.
So.
Yeah, it's an important role. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't see it that way and wouldn't even notice the care that these people are giving from people like yourself, right? So to give the families a bit of a break and take that role is important, which a lot of people don't see, right?
Because when someone's dying in the house,
Mm-hmm.
families don't want everyone to be asleep at once, right? And that can be very hard if you're not able to do that.
That's right.
But if you have a nurse there that says, no, it's okay, I've got this, I know the medications they get, it's going to be all right, then...
Everyone kind of rest easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Back at Meadow Park, what was your addiction?
Hydromorph.
Okay. All right.
Hydromorphone.
Okay. And how much were you using? And...
I was a binge user, so I would use what I could get a hold of.
Okay.
By stealing it from the patient.
Okay. All right. And how would that work? Would it just be in their allotted medications, or would you have access to a card to feed your addiction?
There's some in their allotted medications. Some of them had confusion, so they couldn't tell the difference between what pills you were giving them, so I could give them a laxative instead of their hydromorph.
Okay.
There was, a lot of them had as needed, so it would be in a big card,
Mhm.
and then they'd say, I would just punch out that, oh, Barney needed 2 of those today, and oh, Billy needed 3 of those today, when they really didn't,
Okay.
and that's how I would get a hold of it.
Okay.
Every once in a while, there was also a, big drug, holder, like a safe almost, that we would put the drugs in.
Okay.
Once, like if somebody died,
Yep.
and there were like 23 hydromorph left, would slide the whole card into the drug holder. Well, if you picked it up and turned it upside down and shook it, you'd get drugs back out of it.
Okay.
So,
So you had your ways.
yes.
Yeah. Okay. And was that ever an issue with Stadler? Were you ever confronted, or did that go totally undetected for the time you were there?
There was a time when, hydromorph was delivered to the home, and it didn't get put away right away by the person who should have.
Mhm.
And so I took the hydromorph
Mhm.
and put it in my bag and took it home, and it wasn't discovered for months.
Okay.
And, so I just played dumb. When the police told me about it, I played dumb.
Yeah. And that was that.
Yeah.
Alright. So as a binge user then, like, how much would you be using on a, I mean, obviously you wouldn't use it on a daily basis if you were binge
Yeah.
using, but like how long did the addiction last for?
Oh, the addiction lasted from, I think it started in 2008,
Okay.
so to 2014, at which time I went away and got treatment at a treatment center.
Okay.
But then, I started using again, probably January 2016, I started using again.
Okay. And are you still using when you get your hands on them, or?
No,
No?
no, I'm going to stop using alcohol as well. I have friends in AA, and I've got a very clear plan, if I'm able to be out and about,
Right.
I have a very clear plan. And I also know if I'm not able to be out and about, that AA and Narcotics Anonymous do have some programs where they come into prison,
Absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that's my plan.
Well, that's good that you have a plan. What do you think the reason is that you slipped into the addiction back in 08? Like, what do you think? Is it just the stresses of the job that you were facing,
Yeah.
or dealing with
Just
your personal life as well, and?
just always feeling like I had to be the best possible person, and very, very stressful job, giving medications to 32 people, making sure treatments were done on 32 people,
Right.
charting for 32 people, supervising 4 PSWs who sometimes didn't always get along, and sometimes didn't always get along with me. It's a hard job. Any nurse will tell you it's a hard job.
I believe it 100%.
And then they would add different things like, oh, you have to do this and that to say who's here, and counting the medications at the end of the shift, and it was a hard job.
And
I always was putting this pressure on myself to be a really good nurse and to do everything perfectly.
Mhm.
And every once in a while, when I could get a hold of a hydromorph or two and take it, then that pressure was gone.
Right. Right. And the treatment center that you went away to, where was that?
I cannot remember.
Okay.
I've tried to remember.
Yeah. Was it local or out of town?
No, it was out of town. It was like a good 2-hour drive.
Okay.
You know where the locks are?
Yeah.
Near Niagara Falls.
Welland?
Welland?
Yeah.
It's a little town outside of Welland.
Okay.
And they have it's an 18-day treatment that they have, and I was successful. I went through the whole thing.
Nice. So all 18 days?
Yes.
Okay. And it helped?
Yes. Yep.
What about family? You're born and raised Woodstock?
Yeah, born and raised in Woodstock, married from 97 to 2007.
Okay.
We broke up, February 2007. No children. I wanted them, he never did.
Okay.
My mom and dad are in their 70s, 75 and 76.
Mhm.
I have cousins all over the area.
Yeah.
and my brother and his wife and 4 kids, they live in,
Okay.
and well, they're quite active. The oldest one is 26, and he's got a wife and 2 kids. He lives with his parents. They all live with the parents, except for my...
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, just one big
Yeah.
house of
I was gonna say,
crazy.
happy family, huh? Have you been out to visit at all, been out east, or?
I've been to see their house once.
Yeah.
They've been here a few times.
Nice.
They came in 2013 for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary.
Nice.
And my nephew and his wife stayed behind and lived with my parents for a few months while my nephew tried to go to Bible college.
Okay.
But he wasn't successful, so they went back.
Yeah. So is your brother older or younger than you?
Older.
Older.
He's 3 years older than me.
Okay.
He's 52.
Right on. Good, good. So as far as your latest position at, St. Elizabeth,
Yeah.
that was your last position as a RN, is that
Yes,
correct?
it was.
Okay.
Yes.
And you said you resigned from there?
Yeah.
Okay. What brought you to that?
That's where things get a little crazy.
Okay.
This is part that I haven't told the doctors.
Okay.
'Cause it seems so stupid now. When my ex and I broke up in 2007, I was already taking the medication for my borderline personality disorder. And I was so angry. And it was like a voice said inside me, I'll use you, don't worry about it. And the different times that I have caused people's deaths or caused them discomfort through the insulin, I believe it was the influence of that voice or whatever it was. It wasn't a voice in my head, it was a voice in here. And when I would do it, afterwards I would hear like a laughter in my chest. So, started working for St. Elizabeth, and I was doing well, but it was a lot of pressure. And the way that, that I've helped people to die has been through insulin. And after my 30-day evaluation, my supervisor came to me and said, I'm really sorry. We wanted you for Woodstock, but we have so many kids in schools in Ingersoll that need help with their insulin pumps that you're going to start working in Ingersoll.
Okay.
And I panicked. I didn't want to do that. Because I felt, what if? Those are kids. So I think it was about a week after that I quit. Yeah. And then I packed my stuff in the car, and I drove 2 days I drove into Quebec, thinking like I would just sort of run away sort of thing. And then I thought, no, that's just stupid. So I came back, and I was going to tell my parents what was going on, but they had visitors from Scotland, so I didn't tell them. I just, spent 2 weeks pretending to go to work.
Okay.
While the visitors from Scotland were here.
Right.
It's funny, but it's not funny. And then, once they left, I decided I didn't want to nurse anymore. I didn't want to hurt anybody anymore. So I also quit my other job. And then I decided, whatever Friday that was, that, I did a lot of looking into how I could get help, because I realized I needed help with whatever this was.
Right.
Because part of me had started to believe that it was the devil, and part of me thought it might be God as a purpose through my life. And I know the doctor asked me those questions, but I didn't answer them because I was so ashamed. But I just, I didn't want this to keep going on, so I quit both jobs. Looked into where I could get help. Dr. Fernando is my psychiatrist, and he's not a very nice man. So I went on an online, support group and was talking to people on there, and they were saying, you know, get some help. So then I started researching some, psych boards and stuff, and I saw CAMH, and they are the only, mental health facility in Ontario that has an emergency department.
Okay.
So I made a decision, and I went there one Friday morning. I took the train and off I went. And before I went, I told three people what was going on. My friend from AA,
Okay.
and my friend. I told them what was going on. They said yes, go and get help. And my friend even drove me to the train station.
And when you say you told them what was going on, did you get into details of
I
why you were
told
going
them
to
that-
seek help, or?
I told them that I had been killing people using an insulin overdose. And they all said, yes, you better go get help. So off I went.
Okay. And
She's a friend from, when I used to work at,
okay. All right. His last name? Okay. And she drove you to the train station on
on the
that Friday morning?
Yeah.
To the Woodstock train station?
Yep.
Okay. And then your other friend?
This is my cousin.
Okay. And she's a cousin of yours?
Yeah, she lives in BC.
Okay. And if you don't want to tell me, that's fine, based on the reason why this person may or may not be a friend, but your AA friend?
My AA friend, yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you her first name, but
Okay.
otherwise it's confidentiality.
And I don't want to dig into that, at this point. That's not a problem at all. So did you disclose the same thing to all those three people?
That I had been giving insulin overdoses. I didn't say why, because at that point I felt so stupid.
Yeah.
It just felt so stupid.
And Beth, to be honest with you, I admire the way that you're conducting yourself and telling us and having this conversation with me. I thank you for that. And I'm not here to judge in any way.
I know.
So I want you to know that. And I'm not a doctor. I know you spent a lot of time at CAMH the last 3 weeks, right?
Yeah.
And I'm far from a doctor, but I do appreciate you telling me the truth and telling me the way that these things happened and played out.
Yeah.
And I admire you for that.
And it's, it's been a while because I've been stewing about, like, do I give the names of the people that I killed?
Right.
Because then, here's 8 families that thought that their family member died peacefully and normally, and they didn't. And what's that going to do to those families?
Right.
And even up to going to the hospital, I decided I was just going to give the first names. And my cousin said, listen, they know what years you worked there. If you don't tell them the exact names, they're going to go in there and go over every single file. And that's going to be even worse for the families there.
Right.
So that she was the one to give me that advice, to give the names.
Okay. And as far as you know, have these people reached out to any of the police agencies where they may reside to notify that you told them this? Or
No.
did you tell them in kind of confidence and
I told them in
expected that they would keep that
confidence,
to
and they
themselves?
said, they promised me they wouldn't tell anyone.
Okay.
But basically, the impliance was if I didn't get help,
Right.
then they'd be on the phone the next day.
Okay, I got you. So did you tell them basically then on
I told them
Thursday?
I told them the night before I went.
Okay, so Thursday night?
Yeah.
And then you took off Friday morning?
Yeah.
Okay.
But that's basically what they said was, if you haven't gotten help Friday, then we're calling the police. We love you, but we're calling the police.
Right. Well, they just probably felt that they had a obligation, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it be a moral obligation or however they saw it, right?
Yeah.
What medications are you on right now?
I'm taking fluvoxamine. It's called Luvox, 200 milligrams. It's anti-obsessional and an antidepressant.
Okay.
I'm taking 300 milligrams of Seroquel, which is an antipsychotic, and they upped that when I was at CAMH.
Okay.
Which has really helped clear my thinking.
Has it? Good.
And then I'm taking a couple of blood pressure medications, and then I've got some loxapine for when I get really agitated.
Okay. And when we left the hospital, you had taken, I believe, some Ativan, is that right?
I took 2 milligrams of Ativan when we left the hospital.
Right.
Which
Okay.
was, you guys noted the time, 1:30 or something
That's
like
about
that.
right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I've had nothing since.
Okay. And I know that the Dr. Khan provided with a prescription that.
Yeah, and he also gave me 2 loxapines.
Yep.
And was very strict. I am not to take them till all the interviews are over, because they will start to interfere with my thinking,
Okay.
and then let me see the interview.
Yeah, exactly. And do you feel that you're of a clear, sound mind right now?
Yes, I do.
Conversing with me in this room?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
And everything that you're telling me is the truth and the best that you can remember?
Yes, yeah.
I could appreciate where you're coming from as far as the work that you went through. Obviously, I've never been a nurse, and I've never worked in the profession that you did, but I could imagine how overwhelming it is.
Yes.
Having a lot of responsibility, maybe not having the support of the administration or your supervisors, just kind of go out and get it done, right?
Yeah.
And that could be, I could see how that would be stressful, and I could see how that would drive you maybe into your addiction and into other things. But I want to just go over this document, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay, would you be willing to do that with me?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and you do your thing.
Sorry.
No, don't be sorry. Absolutely not.
This is pretty, excuse me, major. I've only ever had parking tickets. I've never been arrested for anything.
Well, like I said, you're not under arrest
Oh,
right
I
now,
know.
but it is a very significant investigation, you're right.
I understand.
And like I said before, Beth, I do appreciate you speaking with us, and can imagine that, does it feel like a weight off your shoulders?
Yes.
Yes, you've been carrying a burden for quite some time.
And I've tried to get help a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it takes a few attempts to finally commit to it, right?
Yeah, I had a pastor that I told, and he prayed over me and told me I'd be fine. And that was God's grace, and then...
When was that?
That was, Halloween 2013.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you kind of divulged to what had happened to you to that point in your life with
Yes.
involving these people?
Yeah.
Okay. And where was that?
That was here in town.
Was it?
Do you want his name?
Okay. If you want to tell me, it's up to you.
Oh no, sorry, it wasn't, did I just say 2014?
Mm-hmm.
It was 2013.
Okay.
Okay, all right.
So before we get into this, I know that there's a statement which we have and that I've watched where you attended the police station in Toronto at 52 Division, is that correct?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
correct.
And I think it was Detective Hamilton, and I honestly can't remember the other detective's name. I know it started with an A. And you met with them for, I was going to say about an hour and a half.
That was nuts.
Yeah. And at that point, you had in your possession a photocopy of this document,
Yes, that's right.
And you went through and you read it out.
Yes.
Okay. And then following that, they started with the first name on the list, and they wanted to just try and get a little bit more detail of
Yes.
of the involvement in each circumstance, in
Okay.
each death, right?
Okay.
That's what I'd like to do today, and just get some more detail.
Okay.
Okay? So,
It's a long list.
it is, but I think that you and I think we can get through it together.
Yeah, I'm sure we can. As long as you're patient with me.
I've got all the time in the world. I'm not going anywhere.
Because I'm physically comfortable, it's a nice chair, but...
Yeah.
No.
Anytime you need to get up and wander around, like I said, if you want to take a break and have me leave and just kind of stretch your legs and whatever the case may be, you go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, if you have to use the washroom at any time, just let me know.
All right.
Okay? Because like I said, I'm here as long as we need to be.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm not pressuring you to stay any longer than you want to, but I think that if we just kind of sit down and go through this, like I said, we'll get through it together.
Yes.
I'm a pretty patient person, and I'm here to just listen to what you have to tell me. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, and like I said, I appreciate it. Okay. So, how about we just do this together? I'll just bring this over here. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So, I'm not gonna have you read through this entire document, because you already did that, right?
I have written it, I have read it, I have, lived it, so,
Yeah, absolutely. So, Mr. Silcox,
yes,
okay, September of 2007,
yeah. He's
okay?
the first one that died as a result of what I did.
Okay. And before you get into that, you have signed kind of page numbers, all that kind of stuff on each of these documents, so we'll just go in order of how you've written it, okay? And I know that the detectives in Toronto kind of had this in their possession and just kind of got you to recall some things.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep it here because, I mean, you've already written this out, so what's on here is, we already know that. I just have some follow-up questions just with regards to each circumstance. So, Mr. Silcox, it says here you were working a double shift from 3 till 7, right?
3 p.m. to 7 a.m.
Right, okay, and this was at Crescent Care,
Yes,
okay, in Woodstock,
yes.
okay. And tell me about your knowledge of James and your daily interactions during a shift with him.
I didn't see him every time. He wasn't always my patient. I just knew from what people had said that he would grab the nurse's breasts and buttocks, and he would say horribly inappropriate things about his wife, that now he was there, he was gonna fuck all of she was gonna fuck all of Woodstock, and just would say inappropriate things, and he did touch me inappropriately once.
And where was that?
On my
body?
breast.
On your breast, okay. And were you alone in the room at that point?
Yes.
Okay. Did he have a roommate at all? Did James have a roommate?
He must have. He wasn't in a single room. So he was either in a double room or a quadruple room.
Okay. Would you remember any other residents that would be roomed with him at that time? Or?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
That's okay. What portion of the home was James in at this point?
He was in there's an east wing, south wing, north wing. He was in the north wing, about halfway down, and he was either in a double bed or a quadruple bed.
Okay. All right. And the diagnosis of his health at the time you were caring for him, do you remember?
He was post-hip surgery and he had dementia.
Do you remember how old he was approximately?
No, I don't. I'm going to say 80s.
In his 80s?
Yeah.
Okay. And, sorry, he was not a diabetic?
Not a diabetic.
And, sorry, you said he had dementia?
Yes.
Okay, which you've also noted here as well, right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about the night, was this the first person that you did this to?
That I tried. Well, there were other people that I'd done it to who didn't die.
Prior to James?
Prior to James.
Okay, and are they documented on here?
He's the first one who died.
Right.
Back here?
But there's some other...
People who didn't die.
Right, so I can't read that first name.
Clotilda Adriana.
Okay, so that was, I mean, they're both September 2007, but that was before James?
Yeah.
Okay. So, was this your first attempt at overdosing these people on insulin?
Yes, Clotilda was.
Clotilda.
And I didn't really want her to die. I don't know, I was just angry and had this sense inside me that she might be a person that God wanted back with him.
Okay. And is that feeling you're referring to that you had in your stomach at times?
Yes.
Okay, is that the point, and I hate to get off topic here, but the point where you had these feelings in your stomach and almost that laughter after it happened?
Yeah.
Is that the part that you didn't tell Dr. Khan?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I just wanted to be clear on that.
I told him about the laughter in my stomach, but not the feeling that this might be the person that God wants.
Okay.
Because I just sounded so stupid.
It's your feelings, right?
I honestly felt like God wanted to use me. And Dr. Khan kept asking me, do you think God chose me for a special purpose? I kept saying no, because that did not sound like a special purpose,
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I just had a sense after my marriage broke up that God was going to use me for something. And then after a while, I started to really wonder after some of the murders, if it was God or if it was the devil fooling me.
Did you feel like you were doing the right thing for these people?
No. No. I felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't what was right for them.
So James, then, it was in the evening that this one took place, right?
Yeah.
It says here at about 9:30.
Yeah.
Run me through
About
portion of
9:30,
things?
I gave him a dose of 50 milligrams of insulin. He's not diabetic, so I went into it. I used a borrowed insulin pen, borrowed insulin, and gave him an insulin shot. And at 3:30, the PSW. Well, throughout the night he was yelling out, "I love you" and "I'm sorry." And not to me, but just you could hear him calling out in his room, and that's what he was calling out.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 3:30, the PSWs came to me and said that he was gone. So I did what we're supposed to do. I went and listened to his heart and chest, called the doctor, called the family because that's what they wanted. Family came in to sit with him for a while. Doctor came in and said that his cause of death was from an embolism due to his post-hip. He'd had hip surgery. Doctor ruled it embolism due to post-hip surgery.
Who do you think he was talking to when he was yelling out, "I love you"?
I thought it might be his family.
Okay.
I really did. And when they came in and talked to me, they wanted to know if he'd said anything.
Right.
So I told them, and I was so ashamed.
Yeah.
So ashamed. Yeah.
When you were speaking with the family.
Yeah.
And is that the family that kind of commended you for the work that you had done? And
yes, and
spoke to
I've
you
been
how much
there
they
for
appreciated
him,
things?
and yes.
How'd that make you feel?
Awful. Absolutely awful.
How did you deal with it?
I just went home, went to bed. You know, I felt awful. Maybe I fought with my girlfriend. Did some exercising, you know.
Yeah.
Played some games on the computer and just tried to forget about it.
Did you have a problem sleeping that night at all, or anything like that, or did you?
Well, I was working nights, so I was,
It would have been during the day then.
I would say I tossed and turned a bit, yeah. Felt pretty bad. And I didn't want to see the family again. So I tried to make sure I wasn't working when they came to pick up his stuff, and I wasn't.
And what room, do you remember, like a room number, or just, like you
No,
said,
it was down the north one.
the wing, yeah. Okay. Where did you get the insulin from for James, for Mr. Silcox? You said you had taken some insulin pens. Where did you get those?
The insulin was kept in a fridge in the medication room.
Okay.
We had 2 medication rooms. Insulin was kept in a fridge in the medication room, and extra pens were kept in the drawer. So you could just say somebody who had someone admitted and you needed a pen in a hurry. So you just put the insulin in the pen and put the needle on and dial up the dose and give it.
And how was that documented to know that, so that Crescent Care would know that you were taking that insulin?
They didn't keep track of insulin.
Okay. So it was just something that was available for the nurses' use when they knew that it was appropriate for the certain patients?
Yes. Now each patient has their own insulin.
Right.
And maybe somebody may have noticed that a lot of insulin was missing if a lot was used, but I was always careful to use different people.
Different people's insulin?
Insulin, yes.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Silcox, then, where did you inject the insulin into his body?
I'm not really sure. I'm going to say his arm or his torso.
And did he know what was going on at that point?
Not really.
Was he a verbal patient? Like, could he converse
yeah,
with you and communicate?
He didn't really converse. He did a lot of yelling out. I don't really remember him reacting when I gave it to him.
So, he didn't react?
I don't remember him reacting, no.
Okay. Would he maybe just think it's a regular portion of his day and
Probably.
receiving the medications that he so required?
Probably because he had dementia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can remember about Mr. Silcox?
His wife and daughter loved him a lot.
Mm-hmm. And how does that make you feel?
Crappy.
Yeah.
Horrible. Like I said, he could be a bit of a handful, but, you know, he ate and drank normally, took his pills when you told him to, so nothing else I can really remember about him. But this is, 9 years ago, so.
It's a while ago.
Yeah.
How long after, when did you break up with your husband?
I broke up with him.
August 2007?
Oh, no. I broke up with him in, end of January, beginning of February 2007.
Okay, so it was quite some time till September until you actually,
Yeah.
all right, I guess.
By that time, I was in a new relationship with a woman.
Okay. Who was that?
Her name was Maureen.
Did you ever disclose to her what you were doing?
No, absolutely no.
So you just kind of went about your thing with Mr. Silcox,
Yeah.
went home that day, did your kind of some exercising, computer games, went to sleep. Did you work again that next day?
I don't remember.
Don't know. Do you remember who you would have been working with on that occasion?
No.
No?
No, I don't. I'm sorry.
Okay. Are you okay?
Yeah.
Do you want to get up and stretch?
I just do a lot of fidgeting.
Okay, that's okay. Hey, you're not bothering me. I just want to make sure that you're comfortable.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
If I need something, I'll do it.
Okay. You betcha. Do you remember who your supervisor would have been at that point?
Well, that would be Helen Crombie.
That was the head nurse?
Yeah, she was always, like, whoever was on as the nurse was the charge nurse.
Okay.
So I was the charge nurse, and at night, so as the charge nurse from 3 to 11, I was in charge of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 PSWs, and I was and then there was 2 other wings, and so at night, as the charge nurse, I was responsible to look after the RPN on the other side, like be a resource for her.
Okay.
There were 4 PSWs on that side and 4 PSWs on my side, so 9 people.
Okay.
And then Mrs. Crombie, of course, she wasn't around with me.
Okay. She just rotated.
Yeah. But she's who we all answered to. She was, her and the executive director, Brenda, I don't remember her last name. I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna pass gas because of Julie.
That's fine. Don't worry about it. So, as far as Mr. Silcox goes then, besides what you were feeling in your stomach, and besides that you thought that this was a purpose that you were given on, from your relationship forward after breaking up with your husband, right?
Yeah.
You indicated that he wasn't a very nice man.
No, he wasn't.
Is that a portion of what happened?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wonder if that's a portion of how I chose him. And afterwards I did feel a release and a relief. Like a relief of pressure.
Okay. Because throughout this document, and as we go through it, a lot of these people, you kind of describe them as not very nice people. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if that's a tendency or a pattern that we see as far as, is that why you chose these people?
Yeah, it might be, but I also know I just felt like they were the ones.
Right.
I had a feeling inside that they were the ones.
Before you injected insulin into Mr. Silcox, was it a spur of the moment thing? Had you thought about it when you reported for duty at 3 o'clock in the afternoon?
I started thinking about it about 6 at night, I think.
Okay. And do you remember who the pronouncing doctor would have been?
No.
Like, how did that process work?
That process, the way it worked was, person's found with no vital signs. Nurse goes in with the stethoscope, listens for 1 minute. If there's no heartbeat, no lung sounds, nurse goes and calls the doctor on call.
Okay.
There was also a sheet that we had to fill out if we thought it was a coroner's case. In this case, I don't believe we thought it was. And then family is called. And the doctor may wait to come in and pronounce in the morning.
Okay.
Family can come in and visit the body at any time.
Okay.
So then the PSWs would get the body ready.
Okay. So prior to the doctor announcing in the morning, the family could come in and spend time?
Yeah, so the PSWs would just clean them up, put on, clean breeches and clean up the bed and stuff.
Right. So you said Mr. Silcox, you said we didn't think it was a coroner's case. Who's this? What would that been?
I guess I'm using the royal we.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. So would that be just a decision that you were trusted to make?
No, there's a form on the computer, and you go down through it, and if you tick off anything that says yes, you notify the coroner.
Okay. All right. But you would have clicked off those boxes yourself?
Yes.
Okay, so obviously, knowing that you had done this to Mr. Silcox, did you feel that you wouldn't click yes so that attention wouldn't be drawn to you?
You know, I honestly can't remember if he was a clever case or not.
Okay.
He might have been.
Now, would insulin...
Even though I did this to these people, when I did their, but see, it's phrased as, does anyone have a reason to believe that this death was not natural?
Right.
So, yeah, I wouldn't click that one, aside
Right.
from the insulin. Yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
Okay. All right, and I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, yeah.
That was just a question. Okay, anything else you can think about from Mr. Silcox?
No.
Okay. Maurice, how did you pronounce Maurice's last name?
Granat.
Is it Granat? Okay, so tell me a little bit about Maurice. This says that this occurred in September or October of 2007. And this was at Crescent Care?
Yep.
Okay, tell me a little bit about your interactions with Maurice.
He was another one who liked to grab breasts and asses.
Okay.
He was sometimes a patient of mine. See, at that time, I didn't have a set floor that I worked on. I worked on all the different floors as a nurse, kind of filling in.
Okay.
So, one afternoon I was working with him and he did grab me. And, again, I got that feeling inside that this is his time to go. So I gave him an overdose of insulin after supper. And, I believe he died the next day.
And what was your shift that, do you remember what shift
It
you were
was
working at that
3 to
point?
11.
3 p.m.?
Yeah, to 11 p.m.
Till 11 p.m., so like
So
an afternoon shift.
he died when I wasn't there.
Okay. And he was known for, it says here, grabbing the staff's breasts and asses.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you remember who you would have been working with at that point?
No.
Okay. Do you remember where Maurice was within Crescent Care?
Yeah, he was down in the north wing. I think he was in a double room on the right-hand side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you remember who his roommates would have been at all?
No, I don't. But I do remember that when he started going downhill after the insulin overdose, they moved him to the palliative care room right by the nurse's desk.
Okay. And at what point of the day do you think that you, sorry, I think you said this already, but just to confirm, what time of the day do you think it was when you had injected him with
When I
insulin?
injected him, it was afternoon. I think it was 4:30, 5:30.
Okay. All right. And what was his reaction to receiving the insulin?
Again, it was just kind of like, oh, okay. I said, the doctor wants you to have a vitamin shot. That's what I usually say.
And was he able to communicate? Was he verbal?
He was verbal.
Could converse?
Not totally, but he could say something, yeah.
Okay. All right. And did he question his vitamin shot at all?
No.
And he passed away the next day?
Yeah.
Okay. So, being that you weren't there when he had passed away, you wouldn't have been the one checking the boxes.
That's right.
So, do you know, by chance, what nurse would have been responsible for Mr. Burnett?
No, I don't.
No?
No.
Okay. Did you ever have any concerns that he didn't pass away while you were working and that, suspicion may arise?
No, I didn't. Well, yes, I did a little bit. I always wondered if they'd find the site where I gave the shot and something, there'd be an investigation. I always wondered that.
Right.
But other than that, no.
And even though it passed through your mind, you continued on about your duties?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you remember what part of the body he would have been injected in?
Maybe the leg. Because at that point he didn't have a lot of body fat, so.
Maurice didn't?
He didn't know. And when you get a subcutaneous injection, it goes in to the body fat, so.
Okay. And you documented that he was a cancer patient?
Yes.
Okay. Do you remember what type of cancer he had?
I think it was prostate.
Prostate?
Prostate, yes.
Okay. And what did the outcome hold for his future as far as the cancer in his body?
He was dying.
Was he? How old do you think Maurice was?
75, 76.
Alright. I'm sorry, he was in a double room?
Yeah, I believe it was a double room, yes.
Do you remember who you had been working with that day?
No,
Same supervisor, or the charge, or the head nurse?
no. Sorry,
That's okay.
it's so far,
It's a long time ago.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, it's a significant event in your life, but it's a long
Yeah.
time ago.
Yeah,
So I'm not concerned that you can't remember every question that I ask you. That's, you just, if you can do the best that you can, that's all I can ask for.
okay.
Okay? Anything else you can remember about Maurice at all?
Not really, no.
No. Okay. Do you know if he was a
people who
coroner's
loved
case?
him. There were people who loved him, that's what I remember. I don't know if he was a coroner's case.
Who loved Maurice? Who did you know that would come visit him?
He had friends that would come and visit him, that were like family to him. A man and a woman, that's all I remember.
And how did it make you feel when Maurice passed away?
Not good.
And what happened from there?
I wasn't there when he passed away. I didn't work that day.
Do you remember if you worked the next day?
I might have. I know when I found out that he died, I looked to see how long it took, and I read the notes and stuff to see what it got on.
Okay.
And just getting a point out to fidget with.
Yeah, no problem. Whatever you need. So after you found out he had passed, you kind of read through the documents, and
Yeah.
do you remember seeing anything that kind of said, oh, you know,
No.
this isn't a good thing for me, or?
No.
Okay. So.
And even if I had, I couldn't have altered them.
You could have, or
Could not.
Okay. The next person on your list is Helen Matheson.
Yeah.
Okay. So you go from September or October to 07.
Yeah.
And then Helen was 2011.
Yeah.
What happened between those years?
I think, you'll see that
Was there some attempts?
Attempts,
In 08 and 09?
yeah.
Okay. Okay. And we'll get to those.
Yeah.
Okay.
Helen, I don't remember a lot about. She was very quiet, very determined, just seemed to be waiting to die.
Mhm.
Again, I had that feeling that, this is the one.
Mhm.
And, I made a bit of a fuss about her that night because she was very lucid.
Mhm.
And we talked about how much she liked blueberry pie and ice cream.
Okay.
So on my break, I went to Walmart. I got a small blueberry pie and some ice cream
Mhm.
and brought it to her, and she ate 3 or 4 bites.
Nice.
And then that night I overdosed her. 'Cause, like I said, I had that feeling that it was her time to go, and
What do you mean by that? Do you think she was towards the end of her life at that
I
point?
know that she was the person to go next.
Okay. And that was in your mind, in your stomach?
my-
Where was that feeling?
In my chest
In your
area,
chest.
and after I did it, I got that laughter.
Okay. When would you feel that laughter? Would you feel it right after you injected it, or once the person passed away?
Both.
Yeah.
Both.
Okay. And Helen was, you state here that she wasn't a diabetic?
No.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, how much insulin would it take to kill someone
See, I
that
don't
wasn't a
know.
diabetic, or
I don't know.
you don't know that?
No. So it was kind of hit and miss.
You didn't know that as a nurse, that this amount, or?
No, there is no set amount.
Okay. And I'm just, I just
Yeah.
simply just don't know that
No,
answer. So
there is
that's
no
why I-
set amount.
Okay. All right, so different people would react differently to different amounts, is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it would obviously make a difference if they were diabetic or not a diabetic?
Yeah. I believe she died the next day.
And it said, have you here, the doctor declared her to be palliative, and she died 2 days later.
2 days later. Okay.
And do you remember how much insulin that you had given Helen?
60? I don't know.
And where would you have gotten that from?
From the same suppliers, I
Same.
always get it.
Okay. Do you remember where Helen was in Crescent Care?
Yes, she was on the south wing, and probably about 4 doors down from the nurse's station, in a double room on the right-hand side. If you were facing the end, she was on the right-hand side.
You don't say a lot of negative things about Helen here. Did you get along with her okay? Did she ever do anything to harm you, or?
No, she was very quiet. It was just, I got that feeling that she's next, this is her time to go.
her diagnosis?
She was, I couldn't tell you her diagnosis, just that she didn't get out of bed a lot, and she had to be fed her food and fed her pills.
Okay.
So she was near her end of life.
How old do you think Helen was when this happened?
I'd say about 85 or 86.
And do you remember what doctor were you there when she passed away, 2 days later?
I don't think so.
You don't think so? So you wouldn't be which doctor pronounced her, you wouldn't
No.
be too sure?
Once I gave the insulin overdose, unless I was there for the shift I died, I just kind of laid low and didn't, have anything to do with them.
So if you issued an insulin injection to somebody, Helen for instance, do you remember where Helen was injected?
Probably her arm.
Okay. So do you remember if she had a reaction at all?
A reaction?
Did you know if she confronted you in what you were doing at all? Was she able to?
She might have said ow.
Was she used to getting insulin or needles?
I don't know if she was.
Alright. But she wasn't combative or she didn't confront you and ask you what you were doing?
No.
Okay. Alright. And you said once you gave them their insulin,
I tried to stay away from it. Sometimes I was very interested to see what was happening. I would just try to stay away from it.
Okay. Would you ever go back into their rooms while they were still alive to see kind of how they were progressing through the?
If they were my charge, yes, I had to.
Okay. Even though you had attempted to take their lives?
Yeah.
Okay. And you would, what kind of symptoms would they show? Is it different for everyone, or?
Well, usually they'd get very diaphoretic, red, they could lose consciousness, they'd shake. Some people, one person had a seizure, I think it was just one person. 2 people stroked right out.
Right after receiving the?
Not right after, but they stroked out.
Over time.
Actually 3 people, because they believe James stroked out as well, so.
Mr. Silcox.
Mr. Silcox, yeah.
Okay. Okay. November 2011. Mary Zerwinski, is that?
Yeah.
How you recall her last name being pronounced?
Yeah.
And this was at Crescent Care?
Yeah.
Okay, and you said that she wasn't a diabetic, but she had dementia?
That's right.
Okay.
But she could talk and communicate a lot.
Mary could?
Yeah, she was feisty.
Was she?
Yeah. She didn't hurt the nurses or anything. She was just very outspoken and feisty, and one night she said, I'm gonna die tonight.
Mary said that?
Yeah. And I said, oh. And she said, yeah, why don't you get me into the deathbed so I can die? And I said, are you sure? And she said, yeah, put me to bed, I'm gonna die. So I said, okay, and I went to the other nurse that was working with me, and she said, oh, okay, well, let's put her in the sinus care room if that's what she wants. So we did, and then I thought, well, she must be the next one. I had a feeling inside of me she must be the next one. Because she was saying she was going to die, but there's no signs she was going to die. So I gave her an overdose of insulin. And she became palliative and she died. I think it's been a couple of days. I think.
Yeah, it said she's died the next afternoon is what you need to know about here, but, perfect. Sure. There you go.
Which one has the vodka in it?
No answer from him. So where was that in relation to where she was? Like, where was Mary in Crescent?
She was down the south wing, couple of rooms down from down from the nurse's office. And, we did put her in the palliative bed.
And would that be a decision that you would make, or someone else would have to make for you?
Together we made it.
Okay. But a supervisor wouldn't have to say, okay,
No.
go ahead and...
No, we had enough autonomy that if we thought someone was, palliative, we could call the doctor, tell him what was going on, move the person to the palliative bed, and get orders for palliative care.
And do you remember how much insulin you would have given Mary?
I think she may have been the first person that I gave long-acting and short-acting to together.
Okay.
I think.
And can you just, besides the actual obvious, in the title of the actual drug itself, long-acting and short-acting, what was the biggest difference between the two? One drops your blood sugar right away, the other starts working through your body and dropping it gradually over a long period of time, and it just keeps dropping it. Okay. And what would the combination of those two do together? Did you know, or? I didn't know for sure, but I figured it would be much stronger than just a short acting. Right. Okay. Which makes sense. Yeah. You would know more than I would, but, do you remember where you injected Mary? Probably her arm. In her arm. And I told her it was for her pain. And you know if she was in a single room, double room? Well, we had moved her from the double room to the palliative care room, right kitty corner from the nurse's office. So where did you inject her? In the palliative bed or
in the palliative bed.
Okay. And she had vocalized to you that she thought that she was going to die that night? Yeah. So I thought, okay, she must be the one. When I gave the insulin, I got that feeling inside and I lost her. Has she ever said something to you before about wanting to die? Not like that. No, she was like, I want to die tonight. I'm being dead, I'm going to die. And that was new to you? Yes. Do you remember what shift you were working? Afternoon, 3 to 11. Okay. And about what time do you think you would have moved her into the palliative bed and injected her? Might have been after supper, so about 7. And Mary ever done to harm you or no upset you in any way? No. She was fun. Okay. She was funky and outspoken. Yeah. Okay. Do you remember being present when she died? I don't think I was. Okay. All right. And therefore probably wouldn't be a part of checking the boxes? No, I didn't do the boxes for her. Who was there to see Mary on a regular basis? Who came to see Mary? I don't know. No? I don't know. Do you know if she had family? Maybe a son, but I don't know. And Mary being, we'll refer to her as your fourth victim. Yes. The fourth person that, that you were successful in these insulin injections. How did your emotions start to feel as it kept continuing? I kept having a lot of guilt. A lot of guilt. Mary, well, as you'll see, after Mary was Gladys, and after Gladys there was a period of 2 years where I didn't do it. 3 years where I didn't do it. What was going on in your life at that point? I was trying very, very hard to get close to God, to make sure that this wasn't Him, and to just live my life, read the Bible, go to church, and not do that, because I didn't want to do it anymore. So I tried very hard. I'm still using a little bit. The hydromorphs? Yeah. And alcohol? Yeah. What was your drink of choice? Rye. Yeah. So I shouldn't say it like that, but I make it sound like it's, yeah, rye. Would you? Rye and Bailey's. Yeah. Yeah, pop a rye and pop down some water. Yeah. Yeah, rye and water. Okay. And, typically how much would you drink in a week? In a week? Probably about 8 or 9. Yeah. Yeah. Like shots of rye or? Drinks. I don't know. Okay. On the shot. Okay.
If you're gonna go by a shot, I know through a drink, so like 3 times 9, 27.
So like you'd be drinking triples.
Yeah.
How would that make you feel with, in combination with the hydromorphs and?
I never did it with the hydromorphs.
No? It was either one or the other?
No, it was either one or the other.
Okay.
The booze is more just for when I didn't have the hydromorphs. And if I was going out, but I didn't go out with people. I always went out mostly by myself and just, I took scratch and win tickets and took booze and
Yeah.
I would drink and do my scratch and win.
Yeah. Okay. As significant and disturbing as this may be to the people that are gonna hear this and learn about this, obviously there's a lot of families that we're gonna contact
Yes.
and speak to. Although this wasn't, and I hate to classify it into different areas, but these weren't necessarily violent deaths. Like, do you think these people died peacefully? Did they struggle at all?
All the people you've talked about so far died peacefully, in my opinion. And I am sorry. I'm sorry for what the families went through at the time, and I'm extremely sorry for what they're going to go through. It's awful.
If you could say something to them, what would you say to them?
What can you say to them that would matter? I'm sorry isn't enough. I should have gotten help sooner. I took something from you that was precious and it was taken too soon. I honestly believed at the time that God wanted me to do it, but I know now that's not true. And if I could take it back, if I could get help sooner, I would have. And I'm sorry.
And like I said, I admire you for at least, whether it took 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, whatever it took for you to finally get help, that's a big step.
Oh, thank you.
Right? I mean, you could have been in this situation and taken this to your grave.
Yeah.
And who would have known? Right?
That's what I was told to do by a lawyer.
What's that?
Take it to my grave and not tell anybody.
So you've confided in a lawyer as well about this?
A long time ago, yeah.
Was it after all of these people?
It was in 2014 before I,
Is that before you went to Welland? Or,
yeah,
sorry, to
the Welland
rehab center?
Yeah, to the rehab center.
So you spoke to a lawyer?
I spoke to a lawyer and she was the one who told me to get out. I need to go to the bathroom.
No problem. No problem. Just for the record, and so it's documented, I have 6:26. Just take a break, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Remember where you're going? All set? Do you need anything else at all?
No,
You sure?
no, I had a caramel.
Oh, did you? Perfect. Just for the record here, I have 6:30, and that'll just resume things, okay? Okay. Okay?
Yep,
Okay. We're gonna carry on?
yep, that's cool.
So Gladys, so this takes us to November of 2011 at Crescent Care. It says here Gladys was a type 2 diabetic and had dementia.
Severe dementia.
Did she? Yeah. How old do you think Gladys was?
92.
92? Okay. And where was Gladys within Crescent Care?
East wing, 3 doors down from the main desk, in a double room.
Okay. Do you remember her roommates at all?
No.
No. Okay. And obviously these are repetitive questions, and
Yeah.
you might remember some of the roommates throughout, as we go along here, so that's why I just keep asking the same questions. Tell me a little bit about Gladys. What was she like when you cared for her?
Well, when I first started caring for her, she was walking and talking, and she had quite the spirit. She once, she once punched a man.
Oh.
Because, she overheard the nurses telling one of the gentlemen, no, you can't push your wife around, you have to come with us. And she turned around and she said, you can't treat a woman like that. Boom!
And hit the man.
And hit the man. So then we're all in a state of trying to keep them from fighting with each other and trying to keep them from hurting us. So,
right.
yeah, she was very spunky. But she went downhill fast.
Did she?
Eventually, she had dementia, didn't take her pills well, didn't eat well, very stubborn woman. And as always, one evening I just got that red surging feeling that she was going to be the one. And gave her insulin overdose.
Did you ever get that feeling outside of work?
No, never.
No? Did you ever get that feeling going to work, knowing that something was going to happen that shift?
No, it always happened at work.
So, if I were to use the phrase spur of the moment, would it be something that you would just have that feeling come on, or?
Yeah, I guess you could say it was spur of the moment, but it usually start happening, focused on one patient, and then I would feel that red surging, which is what made me think it was God. Which I'm so embarrassed.
Like I said, I'm not here to judge you, right?
I know.
Right?
I know.
You said, you explained that it was difficult for, towards the end, giving her pills. Do you remember what you were working with, the shift when you injected Gladys?
I believe I was either working nights or days.
Okay.
Because I know it was close to the end of my shift.
Okay.
But I did it, and the person who came on next shift, I think it was nights. So the person who came on next shift checked her all over and called the doctor and had her made palliative and started her on a pain regimen.
And do you remember how much insulin you gave her?
No, I don't.
Do you remember if it was long or short or a mix?
I probably, at that point, I think I was giving everybody a mix.
Okay, so once Mary was the first person you said that you gave the long and the short acting to, and then following that it was everyone from there forward. Okay. And that was again at Crescent Care.
Yeah.
Was that insulin taken from the same location as you always would?
Yes.
Okay. Was there cameras in
the bedrooms? No.
No?
No.
Nothing at all?
No.
Okay. So you could access whatever you like and...
Well, not whatever you like, but yeah.
But the insulin, because you said they didn't even keep track of it.
The insulin, the insulin, you could get Valium, you could get, like, injectable Valium. It was fairly easy to take meds from there.
We'll get into, sorry, I was going to ask you a question, but we'll get into that a bit down the road. You know how long it took for Gladys to die?
I believe she died the next afternoon, or that afternoon.
Okay, and do you know if you were present for that?
No, I was not.
So therefore wouldn't have been a part of the process of the pronouncing and checking the boxes?
No, no. When someone's dying, it seems like it takes longer than it does. If you're around, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah. I'm sorry that you know that.
Thank you. As far as Gladys goes, do you remember if you worked the next day to learn about Gladys' death, or?
I think I worked 2 days later. Okay. I think I worked the day after her death, whenever that was.
Okay. What would play through your mind on your days where you inject, so Gladys, for instance, you inject her, you work nights it says here, so 11 till 7, you did this at 5 o'clock, you go home and carry it on about, if you have 1, 2, 3 days off, whatever the case was, what was going through your mind on those days off? Were you thinking, when's Gladys going to die? I would wonder if she had died. I would wonder, if this would be the time I would get caught. What was I going, every time I walked in after somebody had passed away, I always wondered, is this the day I'm going to get caught? What kind of consequences play through your head? Like if damn, I'm caught, the gig's up. What kind of consequences do you think you're gonna face if that were to happen back in 2011?
Fired, jail, no more nursing license. That's exactly what I'm looking at now, although I took myself out instead of being fired, but
Right.
jail and no more nursing license.
As far as in 2011 though, and having that feeling, like when did those feelings start to say in your mind, like, I wonder if this is the time I'm gonna get caught? Did it happen right at Mr. Silcox, or did it?
Yeah, probably every time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And Gladys, do you think, did she have a reaction when you injected her?
She fought a little bit.
Did she?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Like she struggled around, so I found a spot on her leg that I could do where she couldn't reach me and pinch me.
Okay. Would that be something typical if you were giving her medication, she'd like you to pinch?
Pinch, scratch, feel up her mouth.
Is that common in patients?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And, like even the PSWs who had to change her, product,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes she'd fight them and scratch them and pinch them and twist their hair and, yeah.
Do you think that played into any part of your actions with Gladys, particularly with Gladys?
I don't know, I think some of I think some of it did, you know, the stubbornness and stuff, and, yeah, just kind of, okay, you're the next one to go. But again, there was always that red surging that I identified as God telling me, this is the one, you know, this is how you work for me.
Did you ever try and fight that feeling?
Later on, as you'll see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. But when you got that feeling in your chest and stomach, would you directly go to get the insulin?
Pretty much, as soon as I had time with the rest of my job.
How many patients would you be caring for
32.
On one shift?
32.
You'd be responsible for all 32?
Yeah, 32.
So each nurse would have 32?
Yeah, nurse, our registered practical nurse.
Okay. So that's a busy day.
Mhm.
And I know we talked about it earlier, but again, just to revisit that, do you think that's something that played into this?
I think so.
The stresses of the job?
Oh yeah, I definitely think so.
Because you had a lot going on in your life.
Yeah, I definitely think the stress played into it. Maybe made my mind more susceptible to stuff.
Did you ever go to work intoxicated by alcohol or drugs at all?
No.
Did you ever use at work?
Yeah.
The hydromorphs?
Yes.
Often?
Probably once or twice a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you were at Crescent Care, where would you get the hydromorphs from?
Oh, there's a number of ways you can get them.
Right.
You can sign off that somebody owned the PRN and take it instead.
Okay.
You can take them their regular medication, and if they're not able to identify it, take it instead.
Okay.
You can take the regular medication that's in capsules, and if they are able to identify it, open the capsule, take the stuff out, put the capsule back together again, give them the empty capsule, take it yourself.
And how would you typically ingest the hydromorphs?
I just swallowed it. I never shot it, I never snorted it.
Yeah. Okay. And do you remember how much you gave Gladys?
Of the insulin?
Mm-hmm.
I think I gave her 80/60. I think.
And her reaction after she kind of pinched and struggled a little bit with you?
She relaxed, and then by the time the next nurse came on, she was red, she was sweating, she was incoherent. Her vital signs were all down.
And how do you know that?
Because I was just leaving when the next nurse came on, and PSWs came to her and said something's going on with Gladys, and she said, come with me, we have to go check on Gladys.
And
so, yeah, so I actually helped her move Gladys to the palliative care room.
Okay.
Scared out of my gourd the whole time that she was going to say it was something I did.
Thinking, okay. Was she still able to communicate at that point?
No.
Okay. Do you remember what nurse that was that you moved?
Karen? I don't remember her last name. If I sat for a minute, I could probably remember it.
Well, if it comes to you. Might just be one of those things that pops in your head in a few moments, right?
Yeah. Rutledge.
Karen Rutledge?
Yeah.
still there?
Yep, as far as I know.
Okay. Mrs. Helen Young. So this is where you have a bit of a gap again, from
Yeah.
2011 to 2013 with your successful injections, but there wasn't even any attempts.
No. In November 2011, I came home from a cruise of the Caribbean, and I was feeling guilty. I was feeling damned. I was feeling confused. I was feeling like I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was feeling like if I could somehow connect with God strongly enough that I wouldn't do it anymore. And so I spent a lot of time reading my Bible and praying and deciding I just wasn't going to do it anymore. So I had the odd urge to do it, but I resisted by going to church, reading my Bible, praying, and telling God I didn't believe Him, that He wanted me to do it anymore.
What church were you going to that point? Where's that? Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah.
So as far as fighting off that, would you still have that feeling, like that burning feeling?
Sometimes, but I did a lot of praying about it, and I just did a lot of praying, reading my Bible, getting very involved in my faith, getting very involved in my church.
Right. Okay. And obviously, with what you've told us so far, that it helped,
Yeah.
what you've documented.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we need to be aware of that happened in between those times?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I didn't tell anybody or anything like that.
Okay. Except for the pastor, sorry, when did you?
That was, I told him after Helen Young.
Okay.
He was after Helen Young.
I'm just gonna turn this off because it keeps vibrating. I apologize for that.
That's okay. I may fart, and I'll have to apologize for that.
There we go. So that was after Helen. Right. Okay. So Helen was at Crescent Care. Where was Helen's room?
She was on A side. I had been transferred to A side, which is a new unit, like, well, relatively new, 10, 12 years old. I was on the first floor. I was the charge nurse for the first floor, and she was in the room closest to the nurse's station.
Okay. Where was that like for me going to Crescent Care, would it be closer to Fife or closer to North Ave side or?
So there's the retirement home. There's the wall that joins the retirement home to the nursing home. There's North Wing. There's South Wing. There's East Wing. And then down at the end of the hallway of East Wing is Unit 1 and Unit 2 in the building right on top of each other.
And what was the purpose of that area of Crescent Care?
Oh, it was all single rooms.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Helen was in her own room?
Helen was in her own room, yeah. It was all single rooms, that area.
All right. And Helen was a type 2 diabetic with dementia?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me a little bit more about Helen.
Helen was miserable. She frequently yelled out, "Help me, nurse." She frequently yelled out she wanted to die. She just was not happy with her life. She would wheel around in her wheelchair saying, "Help me, nurse, help me, nurse, help me, nurse, help me, nurse." And when you went to help her, what do you want help with? Nothing. Get away with me. Go away. Help me, nurse, help me, nurse. Didn't want to eat, didn't want to drink. Very difficult to deal with. Constantly would yell out, or we'd say, "What do you want help with?" "I want to die. Why can't you help me die? I want to die." And one night, it was like something snapped inside, and that red surge came back, and I thought, okay, you will die. So I gave her a shot, I came up to her and said, this is for your pain, and I gave her a shot of long-acting or short-acting, and she started to settle down, and then, later on, we put her into bed, and I gave her more of the, insulin, I think it was long-acting. She had a seizure, she turned red, she, was diaphoretic, the PSWs called me to the bedside. I took all of her vital signs and I pretended to take her blood sugar. I said, oh, it's normal, don't worry about it.
How did you go about that with people beside you?
They're PSWs. Don't let anybody see that part of the...
PSWs?
No, but what I mean by that is PSWs, nurses focus on the meds
right.
and treatment.
Okay.
PSWs focus on, like, they were busy washing her, they were busy changing her, they were busy dealing with the fact that she was having diarrhea. They were not doing the part of the job I was doing,
right.
So they never would have noticed. Where's my burger? So they never would have noticed, me not taking the blood sugar. Because I took her, like, I did her pulse, I did everything else, so they wouldn't have noticed that I didn't do that because they were busy with everything else.
Okay, and you just...
And I just said, oh, blood sugar's good, 5.6, she's good.
Which is a number that in your mind you knew was average and nothing concerning the 5.6 or whatever you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember what shift you were working at this point?
Afternoons. I was straight through to 11s. At that point, I was straight through to 11 on that ward.
Okay.
That had started a little bit before that.
Yeah. Okay. And that would have been an individual room, as you said?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember when Mrs. Young died?
1 to 2 days afterwards.
Okay. Do you know if you were present for that?
No, it wasn't.
Was there a different procedure at all when people passed away in that wing opposed to where you were prior to?
No, it was all the same nursing home. It was all the same policies.
Okay.
It was just that that wing of the nursing home was built to accommodate the fact that the owner took over Norvilla.
Oh, okay.
In Norwich.
Okay.
So everybody from Norvilla got moved to the new part of the nursing home.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the only reason. And then eventually they all got mixed together.
Right. Okay. So being that it had been a few years then, when you injected Mrs. Young and you were successful in causing her death, how did it make you feel after those few years that these urges and these feelings had come back?
I felt horrible. I felt angry at myself. I felt like I had failed myself. I felt like God had failed me.
Did you continue to practice in the church?
I continued going to church, yes.
Did you believe in as much as
I did, but I was getting very confused. So it was soon after that I went to the pastor and told him what had happened. And he prayed over me, and because he said that was the last thing he would have thought of me, and his wife was there too, and they prayed over me, and they said to me, now this is God's grace, but if you ever do this again, we will have to turn you into the place.
And where would that conversation have taken place? At the church?
In their house, at their kitchen table. And I kept going to their church.
And how detailed did you get with the conversation?
Oh, I told him that I was taking people's lives by giving them insulin overdoses.
What were you specific with names? How much insulin?
No.
When you were doing this?
No.
How many people?
I don't know if I told him how many people, just that I was doing it. I wanted to stop.
And his response was to pray for you and pray over you?
Yeah, put his hands on me and have him put his hands on me and pray.
What religion did that church practice? Okay.
Yeah.
Did Helen have any family that you recall that would come visit her?
Yes, she had a niece that loved her very much and was there at least twice a week.
Did you ever converse with her?
Before she died, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How old was she?
I'm saying late 50s, early 60s.
The niece?
the niece,
Okay,
yes,
and then Helen, her son.
90.
Alright. Did you speak to her following Helen's death, her niece?
What?
Okay, what was that?
I think it was a day or two after when she was gathering her stuff, and she cried on my shoulder and thanked me for being a good nurse.
And again, the feelings that you had at that point?
Oh, guilt, shame, anger, like I had betrayed her. And not that I was betrayed, but betrayal, that I betrayed her.
And did you display any emotion at that point to her?
I just, gave her a hug back and said I was so sorry. But at that point, I was getting very confused about was this God and was it not.
And when you resumed doing this, did you have any, besides the religious feelings that you were having, did you have any other personal feelings in your mind as far as knowing the difference between right and wrong again?
Yes, I knew the difference between right and wrong. But I thought this was something that God or whoever wanted me to do it.
So
I'm starting at that point to doubt that it was God.
Okay. When you resumed doing it?
Yeah.
Okay. Alright. Was anyone working with you on that day that you can recall?
The PSWs, but I don't remember their names.
Okay. How many would have there been?
3.
Okay.
There would have been students too, I think, but I can't remember.
And there would have been 32 patients in that wing as well?
Yes.
That you're responsible for? Okay. March of 2014, this is Marine Pickering at Crescent Care.
Yeah.
Tell me about Marine.
Maureen was a handful. She would attack other patients, she would pull their hair, she would hit them, she would pinch them. Eventually, it was decided that she needed a one-on-one staff. So sometimes they would book an extra PSW to be with her. Sometimes someone would come from the outside to be with her. But when one wasn't available, it was the role of the church nurse. And that was nuts. Sorry. That's just absolutely nuts. So, she just got harder and harder to look after, and one night when I had to look after her, I got this idea, I thought, I'm starting to get the feeling of that surge again. I thought, no, I don't want her to die, but if I could somehow give her enough of a dose to give her a coma, or something to change her brain waves, maybe make her less mobile, harder to handle, hard to handle.
Right.
So, yeah, so I overdosed her.
And was that in the same wing?
Yes, she was right across. She had gone into the room that Helen had been in.
Okay.
Yeah, she was right across from the nurse's station.
And as well, obviously, a single room at that point?
Yeah. That night she stroked. She had a severe stroke. She went to the hospital. And when she came back, she was there at the nursing home for a few days, and she died. But before she came back from hospital, I was fired from Crescent Care for medication errors that had nothing to do with this.
When you got transferred into this A wing, did you still get the medication the same way? The insulin the same way?
Yeah, because there's insulin purchase there.
Okay. And so, sorry, Maureen, Mrs. Pickering, was transferred from Crescent Care to the hospital?
And then
back
brought
to
back,
Crescent
yeah.
Care. What was the time frame there, do you remember?
2 days, I think.
And
But they knew that she was totally vegetative when she came back.
okay. So she
So
was basically coming back to pass away
Yeah.
at Crescent Care?
Yeah.
Was she put in palliative care when she returned?
No, 'cause she had her own room.
Okay.
The palliative care room was for people who didn't have their own room,
Right.
so that families could go and be with them.
Okay.
And not disturb the other residents and not be disturbed by the other residents.
Right. Do you remember how much insulin that you gave to Mrs. Pickering?
It was a lot. I'm gonna say 80 long-acting and 60 short-acting, something like that. It was a lot of insulin.
Why so much to her?
Wasn't sure if she would die or not, and I really wanted to make sure that she, their mind was changed a bit before she came back to us.
So the insulin caused her
A stroke.
a stroke and then the reason to travel to the hospital.
Yeah.
Do you remember any reaction from her when you were injecting her?
No, none at all.
Do you remember what type of, sorry, I apologize, what part of the body that you injected her?
Her,
Left, right?
left. Left up.
Had no reaction? She didn't?
Oh yeah, the first time I gave it to her, she said, "Hey, what was that for?" And I said, that's your vitamin injection.
Which is, like I said, that you would typically tell people?
Yeah.
Okay. How long in between when you gave her the next dose?
Probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
And that was about, what time did you say, sorry?
Oh, I don't know.
You were still working in the afternoons, right?
Yeah, 8 or 9 at night.
Okay, yeah, it says here that at 8 o'clock, you gave her 80 units of long-acting insulin.
Yeah.
Did Miss Pickering, do you recall any family that she had?
She had 2 friends that came and saw her a lot. She had a boyfriend that would come and see her.
Okay. How old was she?
82.
How old was her boyfriend?
Oh, I have no idea.
No?
No.
But he would come on a regular visit?
He was coming to visit, yeah.
Was there any restrictions on visiting practices at all, certain hours?
Basically, no. If they wanted to come late at night, they had to let us know,
Okay.
so we could let them in and out.
Okay.
And that was more for palliative people.
Right.
But no, there was no real restrictions. I mean, there was the odd patient who had a restriction, like, they can't leave the building with this person, or they can't leave the building with that person, or so-and-so shows up, call the police, that sort of thing.
Do you remember if you were present when she passed away?
I was not. I'd already been fired.
Okay, so sorry, between the time that when were you fired?
Late March, early April.
Was it when she was at the hospital? Or did she come back and then?
She had come back and then I was fired.
And then she
But,
lived for a few more days?
yeah.
You were fired in the meantime?
Yeah,
And she passed?
for something that had nothing to do with her. And my timeline may be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
It may have been February,
Mm-hmm.
because I know by the middle of April I was working again at, Meadow Park Nursing Home.
Yeah, that's in London.
Yeah.
What was the cause of your firing then? Sorry, there was a medication mix up, right?
I had a few medication errors, and strangely enough, not on purpose, one of our residents was missing her long-acting insulin that she got at supper.
Okay.
And it was coming from pharmacy, but I wanted to make sure she got her insulin.
Mm-hmm.
So I took insulin from another person who I thought was the same insulin, but it was short-acting.
Mm-hmm.
And it gave her a seizure because she wasn't used to it. And she was okay. We helped her and she was all right.
Okay.
But when they figured it out, I was fired because I had other medication errors as well. No, different things. Eye drops, just a lot of different stuff.
And what do you think that was a result of?
What, med errors?
Mm-hmm.
The workload. Yeah.
Was it anything to do with, were you still using at this point?
You know what? I never made a work trip. I never made a med error when I was using it at work. Never.
Just had you focused?
Yeah.
Did you ever commit any of these deaths when you were using?
No. None of them.
So no med errors, no deaths?
When I was using.
You're using it was all the feeling in your chest and your stomach and
Yeah.
your
The surging and yeah. And then the laughter afterwards, which was really, it was like a cackling from the pit of hell, if that makes sense.
Did the cackling continue when Mrs. Young was in injected with insulin? After that 2-year break?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
so
it did,
feeling,
same cackling,
same cackling.
same feeling, same cackling.
So then did you work anywhere between Crescent Care and Meadow Park?
No,
Okay, did you go directly from one to the other?
pretty much within a month.
And would those medication errors be documented in a reference letter, or
No,
were you made aware of anything like that, that Meadow Park, would be aware of the reason why you were let go
I
from
told
Crescent
the person that hired me at Meadow Park, she told me she had found my resume somewhere,
Care?
because I never applied to Meadow Park.
Oh, really?
But she had found my resume somewhere, and she called me because they needed a nurse.
Oh, okay.
So when we did our interview, her name was Heather, I forget her last name, she's not there anymore. When we did our interview, she said to me, "Why did you leave?" And I told her, I said, "I'll be absolutely honest with you. I was fired for med errors." And she said, "Well, tell me about them," and I did. And she said, "Okay, well, I believe in second chances, so you're hired. Full-time afternoons," and it was a 1-year contract.
Okay. And how long were you unemployed for then?
A month,
Just a month?
yeah.
Okay, and would you commute back and forth, and did you still live in Woodstock at the time?
I still lived in Woodstock and I commuted back and forth,
For straight afternoons?
yeah.
What was that? What were the hours for the straight afternoons?
Either 6:30, no, sorry, either 2:30 to 10:30 or 3 to 11.
Okay.
I'm not sure which it was.
So when you got to Meadow Park, what was the difference as far as the workflow of the patients that you were responsible for? Were the
No
numbers similar?
difference. It was
32
extremely similar. The only difference was that the, RPNs would do the, if there were dressings that had to be done at night, they'd do the dressings on the people at night that were my people.
Okay.
But other than that, yeah.
And, your supervisor at that point at Meadow Park, was that the same person that hired you, Heather, or?
Yeah,
Okay.
she was the nursing supervisor.
Okay, so she'd be her direct supervisor.
Yeah.
So RPAD, or RTORVAP,
Yes.
tell me a little bit about it.
He was mean. He would grab the nurses and the PSWs whenever they were trying to do things for me. He would grab them, he would twist their arms, he would punch them. Very difficult to do care for. And one night I just got that surgery, like, "That's it, you need to go."
Had he done something that night?
No, not really, just been his normal self. And he fought the first needle. And then the second needle I got in. And I forgot something about Maureen. I had given her a dose of whatever we dosed her with to calm her down before I ever gave her the insulin. Forgot about that. So I had done that.
So you
Is
gave
that
her
in there?
About Maureen?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
I had given her a sedative dose before I ever gave her the insulin.
Oh, you said you gave her Haldol.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you recall doing that?
Yes, I did.
And then the 2 insulin injections.
Yeah.
Did the Haldol calm her? Do you remember?
No, it didn't. So Art, I gave a large amount of short-acting, a large amount of long-acting in between each other. And then when I left for the night, he was still okay. When I came back the next day and worked, they said that he had had a stroke, severe stroke, and gone to the hospital. And the nurse that I talked to who'd been on the night before, she said, "Do you know how low his blood sugar was?" And I said, "How low?" And she said, "Oh, like 1 point something." And then she said, "But you know what? I went home and I did some research, and sometimes having a bad stroke can make your blood sugar go low."
Really?
Yeah, that's what she said to me.
That was
So,
odd too.
yeah, that was odd. But, yeah, so he lived for a couple of days and then he passed.
Do you remember what nurse that was that you worked with?
It was the night nurse. Little short Filipino lady. That's all I remember.
Okay. Okay. And do you remember what time of the night that you had injected her?
I'm gonna say 7 He fought it,
Did he?
yeah, but he fought everything.
Would you ever, when you were doing this, did you ever speak to these people when you were injecting them?
No,
Would you ever say anything to them?
not unless they asked me what I was doing, then I just say it was a vitamin injection.
But having that, and I know it's documented in here a few times, having that feeling of anger and frustration, would you ever,
No,
you would never state anything to vocalize your anger towards that person as you were injecting them?
no, never.
And where did you inject him?
His arm and his thigh.
Okay. And what were you telling him at that point that you were giving him? Did he ask?
It's just, come on up, settle down, you need to have your medicine. And eventually I put it into him.
And was there an immediate reaction to him at all? Did he stroke right away?
No, he didn't stroke till I left.
Okay. And then that's when you came in the next day and had the conversation with that
Yeah.
Filipino nurse?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I don't remember her name.
That's okay. The 4 or 5 days later when he passed away, do you remember if that was back at Meadow Park or was it in the hospital?
It was in the hospital.
Okay, so he never came back.
It may have just been 2 or 3 days, it seemed like it was 4 or 5.
Mm-hmm.
And his family was devastated, absolutely devastated.
What was his health like at that point, prior to
Other
injecting him?
Other than dementia, he was fairly strong. He was in a wheelchair, but he was a good eater and he was strong and...
How old was he?
I'm gonna say maybe 78.
Okay. And who was his family members?
He had a son named Art, who did stand-up comedy.
Oh, no way, okay.
Yeah, like, I think it was just like open mic night.
Right.
And then his wife.
Okay. That's it?
That's all I remember. I know he had other, but that's the only ones I remember.
Do you remember if there were other son or daughters or just other family members that you could recall?
There were other family members involved, but I don't recall.
Okay. Did you ever have any interaction with his family? I mean, you said they were devastated. When did you learn of that? How did you know
Oh,
of
they
that?
came in to take stuff out of his room.
Following his death?
While he was still in the hospital, they
Okay.
came in to take some stuff, and then when he was gone, they came in to take the rest.
Okay. How did you feel having a conversation with him?
Awful. Again, like I betrayed them.
Mm-hmm. How you feeling right now?
Can I go to the bathroom again?
Yeah. Yeah.
I know we're almost done.
We are. I've got 7:10.
Okay.
We're getting there. I have 7:14
Okay.
to resume. So we left off with Art, Mr.
Yeah.
Horvath, at Meadow Park Nursing Home. And I don't think we ever covered this off. Meadow Park is in London, right?
Yes,
I'll be
that's
talking
right.
about commuting, right? Okay. All right. Is there anything else you remember about Art at all?
Not really. Well, he was a big game hunter.
Was he?
And he had pictures of it all over the walls in his room.
Yeah. Did you ever converse with these people, like what they did for work and that type of thing? Like, would you remember details like that? Like Art, for
Well,
instance.
Art was a big game hunter. Maurice, I don't know. James, I don't know. No, I guess I never really did.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And at Meadow Park, where would you get the insulin there?
Again, from the medication fridge.
Okay.
And using a spare insulin and eat needle.
And again, it wasn't tracked?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why is that?
I don't know. Insulin's not something that's usually tracked.
Right. And just because it's not a concern to the homes.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is now. I know some homes track it now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Just a question out of curiosity. Just my lack of knowledge of it, that's all.
Yeah.
Now you have a portion of your, on the fourth page of this document that you wrote out, and before you, when did you write this out? I know it's dated the 24th of September.
Yes, that's when I wrote it out.
You wrote this full document at that point?
24th and 25th.
Where were you at that point?
I was at the CAMH.
And what made you prepare this document?
The doctor suggested to me that I should.
Okay.
Not to give to the police, but he said that if I wrote it out, it would be a good part of my therapy.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
And did take a large amount of pressure off me, and helped me to really clarify the fact that no, it wasn't God, it was something wrong with me psychologically that was making me believe that it was God.
Mm-hmm.
It really helped me to clarify that.
And the original of this document?
Is in my knapsack in the back of your car.
And we'll get down the road at that point, but is providing us with the original document something you'd be willing to do?
Yes.
And we'll get to that.
Do you have a stamp that you can stamp it as the original?
I don't even think we'll need to do that. We'll have you sign a consent form, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
Only if you're willing, of course. You have a portion on the fourth page here, and it's titled "People Who Didn't Die."
Mhm.
What can you tell me about?
Okay, Clotilde Adriano.
Okay.
She was the first person I ever gave extra insulin to.
Okay.
I think I gave her 40, and again, there was that surging, but it wasn't so much that I wanted her to die, it was more let's see what happens. And I did that to her on more than one occasion.
Okay.
Albino was...
Sorry, she was prior to Mr. Silcox, right?
Yes.
So this was the very first person that you
Yes.
injected with insulin?
Yes.
Okay, and we're at Crescent Care?
At Crescent Care.
And her room was where?
Her room was in the east wing, second door on the left.
Okay.
Then east wing, first door on the left was her sister Albina. She was diabetic.
Okay.
She was October 2007.
Sorry, that was her sister?
Clotilde and Albina were sisters, yes.
Oh, okay.
Then there was Wayne. He was on the north wing. He had dementia. He was diabetic. He could be uncooperative. And I gave him a large overdose because I thought it was his turn to go.
That was Wayne?
That was Wayne.
And sorry, how old was, sorry, and I hate to go back, I just have a few more questions. How old was Clotilde?
Clotilde was 90 or so.
Okay, and her sister?
Albina was probably 82.
And did they have family that would come and visit?
Yes, yes,
All right.
very much so.
Who would that be that would come to visit?
Clotilde, I think it was her daughters, and Albina was her husband.
Okay. And long-acting, short-acting?
Short-acting at that point.
In 07, you were still doing short-acting. Okay, and do you remember the doses
Oh,
that you would have given?
wait a second. What would they get at night? It was long-acting, because it was what they got at night. With those two, it was their own insulin, just extra dose, so.
Okay.
Probably 30 to 40
Right.
extra.
Okay. And then Wayne, how old was Wayne, sorry?
I'd say 60.
Okay, oh, so he was younger.
He had developmental challenges, as well as dementia, as well as being diabetic, as well as being a handful. And he wanted to die, so again, that one night I just felt that surging, but he didn't die.
How would you know he wanted to die?
He would say it sometimes, that he just wanted to go.
Mm-hmm. Where was Wayne in the Crescent Care?
He was in room 8, which is the men's ward down at the end.
So 8 or A?
8.
The number?
8 north. 8 north.
Alright, and would that be roommates in there as well?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know who he was roomed with?
No.
Alright, and Mike with Huntington's disease?
That was 2009.
What is that disease?
it robs you of your body and you still have your mind. You get progressively more agitated, you get progressively more, psychotic, and you're in a wheelchair and you've got all these movements that you can't control. It's a horrible disease.
And how old was Mike?
He was 54, and, again, one night I just felt that surging and I thought, now this must be God because this man is not enjoying his life at all. So I gave him a large amount of insulin. I think I gave him 90 total.
Did he ever do anything to harm you?
No, never.
Did Wayne?
No.
Albina?
No.
Wettlaufer?
No.
This takes us to a different location, Telfer Place in Paris. That's obviously Paris, Ontario, correct?
Yeah.
Outside of Brantford, Woodstock area?
2016 winter.
Okay, and that was Sandra?
Yeah, and
How old was Sandra?
Sandra, I think she was in her 70s.
Okay. And Telfer Place, what was the breakup of the rooms there? Where was she located within Telfer Place?
She was down the wing, straight down from the, nurse's desk, about 2 doors on the left.
Okay.
And she had 3 roommates.
Okay. And she described her a little bit of personality in her
Tall, not very well. She didn't walk anymore. She had a good sense of humor. She often said she didn't want to be there. And so one night I gave her an insulin overdose. But she survived because the nurse that came on next went to check on her to do something else and noticed that she was sweaty and took her blood sugar and saved her life.
Okay. And how did these other people survive?
It just didn't. Clotilda and Albina, they found them to have they found them to have low blood sugar and they gave them stuff to raise it. And Wayne and Mike, they just survived. It was never found out.
Was there anything to do with the gender, male or female, that this insulin, the effect of it, or was it just, again, just depended on the makeup of their body and their health? And
yeah, not that I know of if it has anything to do with gender.
The nurse who saved Sandra.
Yeah.
Was there anything that ever came back on you?
No.
Any retribution, consequences?
No, she never figured it out that I know of. She even asked me about it and asked if I thought she'd done the right thing.
Who was that? Do you remember her name?
Diane, I don't remember her last name.
And what were you working at that point? What shifts were you working at Telfer Place?
Whatever I got called in for.
Okay.
I was actually working for a nursing agency at that time called Lifeguard Agency, and I was sent to Telfer as a lifeguard.
I see. So you were never employed by Telfer Place?
No, I was employed by Lifeguard, and I would go to Telfer and to other places as well.
Okay. And that's when you got involved with St. Elizabeth as well, right? When you were with Lifeguard?
Yeah. Just, I was only with St. Elizabeth like a month and a half before I quit.
Okay. 2016 of August, which is not too long ago, you're employed with St. Elizabeth, it says here.
Yeah, I was frustrated with my job. I had a huge workload, having to learn a lot of new things, just a lot of frustration. The weekend that this happened, I had all of the people that I had to look after. Most of them were in Ingersoll. I didn't know any of them. And on the Saturday I went in and I was doing my care. And this is really the only one that was pre-planned, because on the Saturday I went in and I was doing care on Beverly. I noticed that she had a PICC line, which is a line that takes medication straight to your heart, and that she was a diabetic. And so the next day when I went in, I was really frustrated, and I could just really feel the surging and the laughing, and I gave her a huge amount. I gave her, I think it was 180, three doses of 60 through the PICC line.
Did she question that at all?
No, because I used one to rinse the PICC line, one to put into her antibiotics, and one to rinse the PICC line again. And she survived. She was fine the next day.
Did you go see her next time?
No, but I was able to check it on my computer, cause she was seen every day by a nurse.
Okay,
So I could go into the tablet from work and see how she was.
okay. And that was just a computer program used by St. Elizabeth?
Yes,
I see.
on their own tablet.
Okay. And these other people, where did you inject them?
Their arms,
All of them?
all of them, yeah. Sandy was probably her leg, but she was a little bit more difficult.
In August of 2016 then with Beverly, you don't remember Beverly's last name?
No, I don't. And I don't even remember if her first name was Beverly.
Oh, okay.
I could probably, I don't know if I could tell you the weekend it was or not.
But she lived in Ingersoll?
Yes.
Did she live in a home or?
Yeah, in a home, like
her own residence, I mean, or? Do you remember where in Ingersoll it was?
No, I don't.
No. How come you have the name Beverly, but you're not sure what her name is?
Because I'm not sure if it was Bev or B or...
I gotcha, okay. Okay, and that was the only one that you had given through the PICC line?
Yes.
Did you know what the result would be compared to a direct injection into an arm or a leg or a thigh?
I'd
compared
never
to a
done
PICC
it
line?
before, I'd never looked at it, I had no idea.
Okay.
She went to sleep fairly quickly and I left, but when I checked, the next day to see how she was through the next nurse, there was no change.
How old was she?
She was 63, 64.
And what was her diagnosis as far as her health?
She was diabetic and she had large ulcers on her leg. And she also had a, severe infection.
How does that make you feel going through all that?
Awful.
Do you feel like there's a burden lifted off your shoulders?
Yes, I've done the right thing.
Do you feel there's a sense of relief?
Yes. And now I know that it wasn't God. And I'm ashamed of myself that happened, but I also think that it was mental health. You know, I think it was, I was in my right mind. Or I would have been able to tell. I mean, I was raised to believe in God. I was raised from a baby to go to Sunday school, so how could I get such a strong feeling that this is what God wanted, unless it was something wrong with my head?
And I know we've talked about what you would say to the families and so on and so forth, but, again, I feel terrible for the people that are gonna find out in the days and weeks to come about what actually happened to their loved ones, right?
I do. I feel horrible. If there was ever anything I could do so that nobody did this again, I'd do it.
Just a few other things to cover off then, Beth. The things that some of these people would do to you, the hitting, the pinching, the grabbing of your breasts, would you ever report that?
Yeah, but yeah, it was always reported and charged on.
And that's documented on their charts?
Yes.
Okay. And was there any, there's obviously never, not obviously, but was there ever any charges or criminal matters that came of any of this at all?
No. That's part of working in the nursing home, that's just what they do. Might even be your fault, dear.
Yeah, you said that.
Mrs. Conbeck.
Yeah. Do you think that might have played a role in your actions?
No.
Maureen, your ex. What was Maureen's last name? When was the last time you talked to her?
Think about, 4 years ago when she wanted money to move back?
Oh,
We were only together for a year.
okay. So she came here from,
Yeah, and brought her 2 kids.
okay. The teenage kids?
Yeah.
I think you mentioned in your Toronto statement.
Yeah, we got involved with CES with them.
Mhm. When they were here.
Mhm.
Have you, this document that you prepared, Beth, and I know that you had stated the reason why, I guess we call it the breaking point of why you stopped,
Yeah.
was the possibility that you were gonna have to be dealing with kids,
Yes, that's right.
right?
Yeah.
Is there anyone else within your career path that isn't listed on these 4 documents, or these 4 pieces of paper, that you'd be responsible for their deaths?
No, absolutely not.
And if we were to tell you that we've come across some fairly significant or suspicious deaths at other nursing homes,
Where it's in,
right, what would you say to that?
I'd say it wasn't me.
So there's no one else involved
No,
that fell victim to your actions?
no.
Just repeat to me again the people that you've disclosed this to besides myself tonight.
Okay, the very first person I ever disclosed it to was, another girlfriend at the time. Her name was, that was after I killed a couple of people, and, she told me not to do it again or she was gonna turn me into the police.
When was that?
I couldn't tell you, 2008, I think. And then, 2011, when I decided to stop killing, my friend, I told her what I'd been doing and that I had stopped. And then, I told my pastor. And then after that, I told in 2014, after Art passed away, I went on a holiday, and that's when I really decided that this had to stop. And so, I told a friend who lives in BC. Then I told, when I came back, I got advice from a lawyer. And then while I was in while I was in CAMH, well, I told my friend, before everyone, I told my cousin, I told my friend, and I told my friend, and then while I was in CAMH, I told someone who I thought was a friend. They turned around and called the police to make sure that it had really been dealt with. And I understand that he thought he was doing the right thing. I understand that, but he had said, oh, I won't tell anybody, and I was using him as a resource for support, and he turned around and,
Right.
when I'd already, I'd already shared it, so why would he call the police?
So why do you think that none of these people confronted police?
Maybe they didn't believe me, I don't know. Maybe they thought I was doing more something than the patient wanted done,
And as far as believing you, are these close people to you that you've shared other deep, dark secrets with maybe over time?
I would say deep dark secrets and lots of stuff, yeah.
Because this is a pretty serious thing.
Yes, it is.
Right.
It's horrible.
And telling
It's the worst thing.
these people, I just find it hard to believe that no one would come forward until, which is 5, 6 people down the road, right?
Yeah.
Of having knowledge of it.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
And everything that you're telling us is the truth.
Yes, it is.
There's
Yes, sir.
nothing that's been fabricated.
No, sir. No.
And you're sure about that?
I know so.
What would we find in your home? Did you ever document any of this activity at all?
Once in a while I journaled on it. There might be some in my home, but I don't know.
Where would
I
those
think
be?
I threw it out. If it's around, it would be in like a spiral binder in either my desk, my other desk, or my whatchamacallit. Come on. You put files, folders in
In
there.
a filing cabinet?
Yes, filing cabinet, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
And that's, do you live alone?
Yes, I do.
And stuff? Okay.
Yes. Did you want someone to come with me and look?
Well, to be honest with you, as part of the investigation, there's already been a search warrant executed at your house.
Oh, so the search is already, there's already been a
I
search
don't know
warrant?
what stage it's at, because we've been conversing for quite some time.
Okay.
It's probably close to being completed,
Okay,
but I'm just asking, because you've been so cooperative,
yeah,
and again, I do appreciate that.
yeah,
I really do. It just makes things a lot easier, right? Advising us where certain things might be, and you said you might have thrown them out,
yeah.
you might not have.
I might not have kept them. And then at the very end of my coffee table, there's a box, and it's got pictures and a photo of them in it. There might be something in there too.
What would be in there?
A curlicue, writing pad.
Okay. What types of things would you document?
Just what I had done, how bad I felt, when it happened, just trying to figure out what was going on in my head. Yeah.
Searching for answers.
Yeah.
But you're not sure if you have rid of those or not yet?
I thought I got rid of them all, but I don't know if I did for sure.
Okay. Would there be anything else as far as computer documents or anything like that?
There would be, I accessed a computer support group for borderline personality disorder. It would be on that website.
Oh, it's just an open forum that you could join and,
Yeah.
and post comments and,
Yeah.
what website was that?
I couldn't tell you, but I could find it on my computer.
Okay. And would that be something that you'd be willing to share with us?
Of course.
And give us consent to
Yeah.
look at those documents and computer websites and whatnot?
Yeah.
What's your tattoo mean?
Hopes and dreams.
What does that mean to you?
That I have hopes for the future and dreams of the future.
Yeah. What are your hopes of the future now, after speaking to me over the last few hours?
That somehow, some way I can help somebody. There's gotta be somebody wherever I go, jail, penitentiary, there's gotta be somebody I can help. Maybe somebody who can't read, maybe somebody who can't write, maybe somebody who's done worse than me and feels like it'll never be forgiven. Maybe somebody who's done less than me and feels like it'll never be forgiven. There's gotta be something that can come from this. Maybe somebody can study me and come up with answers and new medications so this doesn't happen again. That's my hopes and dreams now.
Is there anything worse than taking someone else's life?
Yes. Child molestation. Absolutely.
Did you feel that you might harm the children and yourself if you were to work with them?
I was afraid that I might get that feeling of wanting to give them insulin or doses, especially since they were diabetic. And I panicked. There was no way. I was absolutely not open to that.
Is there anything else that you can think of right now?
No,
No?
I think I did pretty good.
I think you did.
So what happens now?
I'm just gonna get you to sit tight, and we'll arrange to, see what the next steps are.
Oh, okay, I might not be going home then.
I will get back to you with that.
Okay.
We discussed your, original document that's in your backpack.
Yeah.
If I were to prepare a form, which is a consent to search or a consent form, to provide us with those documents, would that be something that you'd be willing to sign?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
There's some stuff in there too that I did with the nurse.
In your backpack?
Yeah.
Okay. What kind of things are those?
Like, it's called a chain link thing, so you start at what you did and you go backwards to how you're feeling, what you could have done different and all that.
Okay. Do you feel that your time at CAMH helped you?
Yes, very much so.
You received the care that you thought you needed?
Yeah, and an increase in medication, which I feel I needed. Yeah.
All right, sit tight for a few moments.
Okay.
And I'll be back to you shortly, okay? Again, on my phone, I got 7:39
Okay.
p.m. And let me get back to you with some answers and
Okay.
where we're going from here, okay?
I'd like to go home.
Okay. We'll sit tight and we'll see what's
Even
going
if
to
I
happen.
have to wear an ankle bracelet, I'd like to go home.
Okay. All right, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can someone cut these off with me now?
Yeah, we'll get something to get those off, right?
Thank you.
Yep, I'll be right back.
Thanks.
I'm sorry, Beth.
That's okay.
You could imagine that, things of this nature take some time.
Yeah,
And
I understand.
I appreciate your patience with me.
I understand.
Thank you. So, I have 8:02. We're in the home stretch here.
Okay.
Okay, and I can explain to you everything that's gonna go on, okay?
Okay.
Fair enough?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. So, first off, a few things that, you remember the gentleman who transported us back from Toronto and, also Karen, or
Yeah.
my partners, they've just been monitoring and
Right,
taking some
right.
notes and things like that. They're just some things that are concerning and that we just need to firm up, okay?
Okay.
So first off, as I said, there has been a search warrant executed at your residence,
Okay.
and there was some paperwork with regards to a Remington gun, shotgun of some sort.
Oh,
What would that be for?
just to look at it, 'cause I like guns.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, do you have any at home?
No, I used to.
Did you? What did you have?
I had a 22.
Yeah. Was that a Remington by chance?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
But, my husband had a gun that his dad gave me
Okay.
that we would shoot with, so I could stay at the gun club and shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And when we, broke up, I did the paperwork to give it back to him. That might be
Okay.
what they found?
Okay. All right.
I don't have a gun.
There's no firearms in your house right now?
No, sir.
Okay.
No, never will be.
Okay. All right. The username, like what would your username be on that blog that you would write on, that support group?
You know what, I'd have to go and look,
Yeah?
honestly.
It's not like your name and a couple numbers or
No.
nickname, anything like that?
No, I'd have to be sitting down in front of the computer to remember it,
Okay.
and even to find the support group.
Okay. These are a bunch of random questions, just all thrown together here. The insulin they used, the short acting, the long acting, was there an actual brand or a make of the insulin that you would use?
Might have been Novulen,
Okay.
might have been Lenovo. Can't remember the other one.
Okay. When you worked with Lifeguard,
Yeah,
I know that you had mentioned they'd send you to certain locations, certain homes.
yeah.
What were the, there was Telfer Place and then there was two others, was one of them in Fort Dover?
There's more than, there was Telfer Place,
Yeah,
that was the very first. Then there was, here, I'm gonna look here. Telfer Place, Fort Dover, Dovercliff, is what it was called. I did, one PSW shift at a place in New Hamburg, but I couldn't tell you the name of it. Also, I worked at, Telfer Place and Dovercliff are both owned by the same people, and they have another nursing home in Brantford, but I can't remember the name of it.
that's okay, we
And
can
then-
locate them.
And then Park Lane Terrace in Paris, and Hardy Terrace, I think just outside of Paris. Oh, and, what was the other one called? Oh Lord. It's way far out of town, it's like an hour and a half drive from here. My dad grew up in that area. Like it's in the Jarvis area, Simcoe area, it's called, I couldn't tell you, I'm sorry, my brain's shot for the night.
That's okay. That's all right. Anything you can think of?
Yeah. Is my house gonna be a mess when I get back?
No,
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
think so. No.
Okay.
Not that kind of a, it's not like you see on TV and
Yeah.
they're going flying everywhere, right?
Yeah.
your Facebook page, at one point there was a comment, or I don't know where it is in your timeline, about a pediatric nurse. Did you ever work as a pediatric nurse?
Oh, that I was gonna be working with the kids.
That's what that referred to within yourself?
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. All right, and just go back through the names of people here. So we've got, that you've divulged us to, right?
Yeah.
That's your cousin?
That's my cousin.
Okay.
I'm not giving her last name.
Yep, that's fine.
Yeah.
Don't?
The lawyer, whose name I cannot remember.
That's okay, it was a female?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Who's that?
She was a friend from the nursing home.
What one?
From Crescent Care. I told her after I had stopped the first time.
Okay.
And she stopped being my friend because of it.
Okay.
And
Okay. Where does she work?
she doesn't. She's on ODST.
Did she work at a nursing home with you?
No, never.
Just a friend?
Yeah.
Do you know where she lives in town?
She lives in Toronto.
Okay, we're gonna wrap things up, but here's what's gonna happen,
Okay.
okay? And part of this is gonna be up to you. What are your plans going forward from here? If you
Going
were to-
forward from here, I want to go home.
Okay,
I want to have a good night's sleep.
okay,
I want to spend Thanksgiving weekend with my family.
okay,
And I want to be available to the police at any time they need me.
okay,
And if I have to come back for trial, I have to come back for trial.
okay.
I have no plans of leaving. I can surrender my car if you want me to.
Are your parents, are you close with your parents? Like, what type of
Very
relationship
close.
do you have with them?
Very, very close. I have to tell them tonight what's happened.
With mom and dad?
Yes, they know that I've been in the hospital, but I just told them it was for treatment. But yeah, my plan tonight is to go and talk to them one-on-one, like face-to-face, and tell them.
What do you think their reaction's gonna be?
They're gonna be devastated.
What do you
I'm
think?
gonna plan on staying the night there, so they have access to me.
Okay. What type of support do you think you're gonna get from them?
Eventually, all the support I need. I also plan to go to my AA groups. I had planned on doing 90 meetings in 90 days. And just keep up with, like I plan to, see, one of the things that happens with me is I isolate and then I start to not do well. So I plan to, do the Thanksgiving thing, keep up with my friends, clean my apartment, tell my parents. Those are my plans. I have no plans to leave town. I've done this and I'm ready to face it, but I would love to go home for a night.
I think that's gonna happen.
Bless you.
Okay, I think that's gonna happen. As I said at the very, very beginning of this, whatever time we started ago, hours ago, you're not under arrest right now,
Okay.
okay? But as you can imagine, okay?
Call you back in 30 minutes. That was my cousin.
Gotcha. Okay. As I said at the beginning of this, you're not under arrest.
Okay.
But as you can imagine,
I
an
will be.
investigation like this
Yeah.
is something that we've never dealt with. It's something that doesn't happen very often. It's
Okay.
something that you rarely hear about,
Right,
okay? I don't know of many, but you're not the first person to do this,
right,
okay? Having said that, we have a responsibility to protect the public,
right.
right? You know where I'm coming from when I say that?
Yes,
As a police.
absolutely, absolutely.
You've done some things to some innocent people,
Absolutely.
some pretty, what people are
Horrible
gonna,
things.
people are gonna have opinions of you and people are
Monsters.
gonna, right, exactly. Having said that, there's something in the Criminal Code of Canada, and this is usually results in someone being charged with a criminal offense and being placed on such a thing called an 810 peace bond.
Okay,
Okay, and basically what an 810 peace bond is kind of a promise given by you or your word given to us, and it's a court document that's issued by a judge that puts you on certain conditions limiting you from doing certain things, having certain things in your possession, attending certain locations, and if you were to breach those conditions,
right,
then you would be arrested and further charged with
okay,
breaching this, what's called an 810 peace bond.
okay.
So basically, you've heard of a restraining order?
Yes.
It's similar to that,
Okay,
okay? A lot of people call them restraining orders, but it's actually in Canada called an 810 peace bond.
okay,
And again, it just limits you from doing certain things, attending certain locations. It could be things like still getting help for your mental health, your substance abuse,
yes,
surrendering your passport.
I have no passport,
Not practicing as an RN,
yeah,
not attending nursing homes, things like that.
yeah, okay,
If that were an option, which, like I said, usually that occurs with people that are charged people or convicted of certain offenses,
right,
that's part of their punishment sometimes.
okay.
Would you be willing to enter into an 810 peace bond prior to being criminally charged?
Absolutely,
And do you understand what I mean by the 810 peace bond?
yes, yes,
Okay.
it means I have to do it, or I come back and I'm in jail until everything else happens.
I don't know what would happen if you were to breach it as far as jail and the consequences.
Yeah,
The only thing that I want to make sure that it's clear to you and that make sure that I'm getting my point across is that it's basically a document that you're going to swear, sign, and agree not to do
Yes.
certain things, not to have certain things in your possession. And
Right.
I'm not saying that's going to happen right now,
okay,
because it has to go in front of a judge.
oh, okay,
Okay, so it's just an option that we're looking at, because, as I said, we have the responsibility to protect the public.
yes,
Okay,
absolutely,
that's why I want to know what your plans are.
yes.
I want to know that you're going to go home and be supported by your family.
Yeah,
I want to know that you're
cell
going to
phone will
have...
be charged at all times, always on my body if you need me. I will be here, if you need me to come here, I'll be here. If you need me to wait for you to come and get me, I'll do it. I'm totally committed.
All right. I think we have do we have your cell phone number?
519
Yeah.
532 6471.
Okay.
Home phone number is 519 290 0724.
Okay.
Parents' phone number,
Don't worry about that, I'll get that when I'll get your parents when we go.
okay.
Okay. You understand what we just talked about?
Oh, yes, absolutely,
Because it's a very unique situation, right?
yes,
Where
I'm so thankful,
You confess to certain things,
yes,
and we have quite a bit of legwork, as you can imagine,
yes,
to piece this investigation together and see where we go from here.
okay,
There's a lot of people that will consult in it and determine the final answer of what your fate is,
okay,
okay?
all right,
But I know that you're aware of the extent of what you've done.
yes,
I know that you've verbalized and spoke about how you feel, and that obviously you can't take it back, but, you know.
I'm relieved that I've confessed it. I feel sorry for the people that are now gonna find out. Sorry doesn't say it.
Yeah.
They should do that as a word bigger than sorry,
Yeah.
like Diana sorry or something.
Yeah, something along those lines.
Yeah, I really have to pee, I'm sorry.
No problem. I've got 8:16, and I think that'll probably conclude things, but I'm glad you used the washroom and
All right.
go from there. Oh, I just have to get you to sign that consent by the way.
Yeah, no problem.